All right. So what I want to do now is I'm going to ask each group, and I want you to tell us from a stress response perspective, not any other reason, but just from the stress response, how it does how we described it. Why would that be considered useful? Why would you, if you were a wellness coach, would you say this would be a useful, here's why it would be useful? Got it? So, first group, what's one thing you have on here, and up here, where would you put it? Questionable, pretty good, or best? And I'm assuming with these top 5, they'll be over here. What's one thing you have?
Like exercise and being outside. Just kind of lumped in together as one.
Exercise. Okay, now from a stress perspective, why would you say exercise? Because clearly, exercise is the best thing for us to improve our human condition. And I have proof of that in our other class. We really get into it for a day or two of here's everything that happens to us physiologically, just physiologically, when the stress response, or when we exercise. Alexis.
Hormones released in our brains, like, I can't remember the, yes, endorphins, they help us feel better.
They do that. Okay, that's a sub-reason. What's the main single reason? And this what you said is a piece of this. What's the main reason why exercising would be so good for the stress perspective?
Because when we're stressed, we're built up with a lot of energy. So when we're exercising, we are releasing that energy.
Yeah. Do you get that? If you've been telling yourself all day you should be running from a bear, right? If you're saying uh-oh to everything that's coming along, oh my gosh, your body, as you said accurately, is creating that physiology that is designed to run or fight. So the smartest thing we can do is follow through on that message and do one or the other. Now, I saw another hand. Somebody else raised.
I was just thinking if you would be mindful, but not necessarily. But as a general rule, when you're exercising, you're thinking about what you're doing.
Yeah, if you're playing racquetball, you can't be thinking about the test coming up while you're playing racquetball, right? So the next question is, what is the best exercise? What?
One that you'll do, one that makes you happy.
It is the one you'll do. Not the one that makes you happy, because you might not do my favorite thing is snow skiing. That's one of my favorite things. I just never do. 3/4 of the year, there's not any snow up there.
Okay, well, I guess that's true.
But it is the one you will do. And it doesn't make a whole lot of difference what it is from a stress perspective. Now, one of the things that's really, really taken hold, some of you may be, is this, how many of you are familiar with high-intensity interval training, the HIIT kind of exercise? If you analyze high-intensity, when you go high-intensity interval training, what does that look like?
It's usually like a baseline and then like a burst of hard.
How long does the burst last?
Like a minute or two.
Yeah, not very long, right? The one that I do is 30 seconds. It's a minute and a half, and then 30 seconds all out, and then a minute and a half of resting. And there's not a right way, but there are variations. But for that short burst, you're giving it everything, right? It's exactly like the stress response. It's exactly the same. You're powering, then you're out of it. So you're doing, like you said, exactly what you've been telling yourself you should be doing when you're stressed. Excellent. Dogs and animals? Dogs, animals. Why do you think Why did you put dogs/animals? What's the science behind it or the reasoning in terms of the stress? Why would that be a useful something? And I would agree. Why? Rachel?
I was just gonna say they've been proven to lower your blood pressure and your heart rate when you're petting an animal.
Yeah, how come, do you think?
I think just maybe, I don't wanna get weird, but maybe energy transfer, maybe sort of just refocusing a little bit.
Okay, it is.
Companionship.
There's all kinds of things. You said there might be an energy, there might be, it's also mindful usually when you are hanging out with it. You're like, oh, I'm going to be in a test in a half hour. Oh, geez. You don't go there, right? It's like, wow, this is cool. We had somebody in the last class talking about horses, hanging out with horses, and how therapeutic that can be. They have dogs now that are in airports for people who are afraid of flying. So yeah. Now, my question is why? Why would that be something? And you said there's an energy. What were the other things? They don't talk. You said they don't talk back to you, which is nice.
I think it's maybe a safety thing, you feel safe.
Yeah, there's no. That's a huge thing. I mean, anything that we do where we feel safe, we win for the stress piece. It's either safe or threat. It's one or the other. And anytime we say safe to ourselves, am I safe here, body's message is, okay, no need to turn on the juices. Okay, what's one thing you guys have? What's on your list?
Being outdoors.
Outdoors gets over here. Okay, how come? Now there's another reason that I can think of. Have you been in the Mojave Desert on a summer day? There's nothing heaven about that. But no, you're right. You're exactly right. Here's going back to the dogs and the animals and the outdoors. Where have people been most of our history? They've been with animals and outdoors. For most of our history, that's where we are naturally. And remember, anything that our ancestors had to adapt to is probably good for us now, over time. Now, most of the time, I remember once I was, for a week, I went up and my brother had a cabin up in Sundance. And a lot of you have probably had this experience where you get away for some time, get into the nature, get into those rhythms. I was up there for a week and I was just reading. I told you a little bit about it. I drove back to Provo, and it's like Provo, not Chicago or New York or LA or something like that. I drove back to Provo and I kept going, come on, slow down. Everybody was moving fast, it felt like, until I got back into that rhythm. Nature has a different rhythm. Nature has a different feel. And whenever we immerse ourselves in that, we become part of that rhythm. You had another thought?
There's a study where people are supposed to take off their shoes and socks and
Yeah.
go outside, put your feet in the grass.
Called grounding.
Yes, if everything is made out of tiny particles and atoms, you would imagine those things are going to have some impact on you. If you're around radioactive particles, it's going to have an effect on you. So if you're around clean, things that are healthy, things in the environment that are good for us, then we're going to have the
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah, there's really good evidence saying you should be out in nature barefoot. I know. As soon as we started wearing all these different kinds of shoes, people have stopped going, oh no. But our ancestors didn't have Nikes or Adidas. They had sandals or bare feet most of the time. Same kind of thing.
Something else that comes to mind for me with being outdoors is if you're camping and sleeping outside, your natural clock goes back to
Yep.
the sun.
Good. Good.
Cycle.
The circadian rhythms that are natural for us, excellent, excellent. Okay, so yeah, I'd agree. What's something that you guys put on your list?
Sleep.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, as a stress reducer.
Right.
Okay. Is it possible? Yeah, I'd agree. Is it possible that sleep could go over this way? When?
So one thing we wrote down was naps, and so we said a lot of the time when we wake up, we end up feeling groggy, like during the day if you take too long of a nap. But if you get the right amount of sleep, like a good night's rest, I would think that would be in one of the best categories for sure. But
Yeah.
napping in the middle of the day for a long amount of time, I think.
Okay. Let's play with both of those for just a second, because we haven't talked about sleep in here, have we at all? Have we? How long should it take you to fall asleep?
Couple minutes.
Within 3 or 4 minutes. If we're not falling asleep that quickly, we probably should try to do something so that we can get to sleep more quickly. The guided relaxation exercises, meditation. What else can we do to improve our sleep so that it is restorative as opposed to not restorative? What other things can we do so that we either fall asleep quickly or we sleep deeply?
Regular exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean these two go so hand in hand. The better your exercise is, not the more necessarily, but the better your exercise is, the better you'll sleep. And they found that if you exercise appropriately, you'll actually need less sleep. But if you go run marathons, like your dad does he still run? Is he still running any?
Yeah.
He probably needs more sleep after the long races. But regular right amounts of exercise, the 150 minutes a week kind of thing, 30 minutes a day as a minimum, you need less sleep, okay? That's one thing. What else can you do that will improve your sleep?
A dark, cool place.
Yeah, it should, your room should be as dark as possible. In fact, there are some people who are writing about, I'm reading a book right now on sleep that says you should make it so that there's no light. Not even the little red lights. If you've got little red or blue lights around your room, put electrical tape over them. Because your sleeping hormones don't turn on in the presence of any light. Because our ancestors, when they went to sleep, were there lights?
Stars.
There might have been stars, might have been the moon, and that's it. And that's how it should be for us. So you said,
Cool
and it should be cool. Did our ancestors sleep in heated rooms?
not unless they were no, they didn't.
Nope, nobody did. There was no such thing as heated rooms unless they had a fire nearby. And it should be as cool as you can tolerate. Okay, what else? There's several other things, Kristen.
Your nutrition, good nutrition.
What do you mean by that?
Like what you eat, if you eat really well or if you eat not so good.
What's-
Drink a lot of water versus not drinking a lot of water.
What's one thing you should for sure avoid, or a couple things you should avoid, especially near sleeping time?
Sugar,
Sugar, you should avoid that almost all the time anyway. But what else?
alcohol,
Should avoid alcohol, and more than anything else, caffeine. Yeah, if you're a coffee drinker, then don't have caffeinated coffee after about 2 in the afternoon. That's smart. I mean, if you eat coffee, that's up to you. But don't drink caffeinated coffee later in the day. Just bad call, because your body's going to think, man, I got this stimulant going and I'm trying to sleep. Alexis.
I will sometimes plug my phone in, like in a different room.
Yep.
Just use like my alarm clock on my desk to wake me up in the morning. But,
Yep.
Like, yeah, just because.
People are writing about this a lot now, and they're saying 30 years from now they will look back and go, why did you have your Wi-Fi on at night? Because it's the electromagnetic waves, the electromagnetic pulses. you should put your phone, if you're going to have your phone nearby, put it on airplane mode. For sure. Put it on airplane mode. Make it so your house, the Wi-Fi turns off at night. Because you don't need those electromagnetic pulses going through your house, going through your brain while you're asleep. None of our ancestors knew what an electromagnetic pulse was, electromagnetic frequencies, and our body doesn't know how to deal with that.
Wouldn't all your neighbors have to turn off their Wi-Fi as well? Because isn't it just everywhere?
If you live close to people, yeah, you've got that, but it's still kind of a proximity thing. So, I mean, I turn my Wi-Fi off and I make sure all of our phones are on airplane mode.
And then you just reboot your router every morning?
It's just on a timer and it goes on it clicks back on and then it automatically turns on.
I think also when you're talking about that, I was thinking like blue light. Like they're saying that you should be off of your electronics at a certain time so your
Yeah.
phone can also shut down.
Does everyone hear that? Now they have phones. This is huge. This is not a small thing. The phones and our computers late at night should not let any blue light happening. We should only have the kind of reddish orange light going on. If you think about it, our ancestors, after the sun went down, what was the extent of the light that they probably had? Fire. Think of that color. That's the color. And so now you have on your screens, on your computers, and on your phones, you have all of them that I know of anyway. You can adjust it so that it's not strong blue light. It's not as visible. It's not as easy to read, but you don't have those blue lights. You want blue light first thing in the morning. And you should go outside first thing in the morning. Get as much sun as possible first thing in the morning. In the day, you should have about 15 or 20 minutes of sun hitting as much of your body as possible. But in the nighttime, you don't want any of those sun's blue rays going on. Oh, it was you, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I actually have mine in a quick drop-down menu. So like,
Yeah.
at a certain time, I turn the blue light filter on, and then as soon as I wake up in the morning, I turn it
Right.
off. Yeah.
Most computers can do that now. It's really, really important for us if we want deeper sleep. Now, here's an interesting one. Last thing we'll talk about sleep. What's the best position to be in, stomach, side, or back when you're sleeping?
Side is my guess.
You said back, you said side.
That's how I sleep. However you want, however you sleep, why does it matter?
Well, actually, it does matter. They've done studies to find sleeping on your back is the worst way to sleep. Sleeping on your stomach is middle, and sleeping on your side is the ideal way to sleep. They've done tons of studies on this, and they're saying, yeah, we shouldn't be on our back sleeping.
Why is that?
It has to do with the breathing, because once you're on your back, then you tend to breathe through your mouth, which is not the way we should ever be breathing, unless we're exercising, mostly. You mentioned naps. What's the ideal amount of time? And there is an ideal amount of time for a nap in a day. And I'm not going to say no naps, even though if you don't need one, don't take one. You think 20? Why do you think that? That seems short.
I don't know. I feel like I've just heard that before. Like the power nap is like 20 minutes.
Okay. Any other ideas? What happens when you take a nap and you sleep 2 hours? Do you feel like magnificent? Unless you've done a marathon and you need to catch up. The research, and I saw 2 studies that showed this. The research on naps, they took college students and they had tons and tons of people who they would fall asleep, and then at different times they would wake them up. So like at 5 minutes, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then they would evaluate them to see which of those times they felt the most restored, regenerated. And it turns out that the 15-minute nap was the most restorative, and then each minute after that it was successively less restorative, but 15 to 20 was kind of the ideal. Anything more than that, why do you think that is? That it's not fully restorative? Going, for longer than that, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Why do you think? Yeah, if you sleep longer than that, your body thinks you are actually at night sleeping, and so it does go into your sleeping cycle, your night sleeping cycles. So you get, and then you pull yourself out of it kind of prematurely. So shorter naps are better. Okay? All right, so we got that behind us. What is usually not present when you are on a vacation? Usually, unless you have insane kids or brothers and sisters. What's usually not present that is the cause of all of our stress?
The stress, like just the stress of everyday home life and work and everything that you have to do
Right.
on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, there's no perceived threatening things. Like, I don't have this, that. I don't have this. There's not a load of dishes to do, or there's not a test coming up. And so all day long, you're giving yourself the message, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. And your body all day long is going, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm back in the parasympathetic nervous system activity. I'm in the relaxation mode automatically. You're either in one or the other, right? You're either in fight or flight mode or rest and repair mode. Get rid of the threat thought, you will be in the rest and repair mode, which is mostly what happens when we go on any kind of getaway kind of thing. Okay, good. What else did you guys have? Meditate. Now, since we're going to spend a day on that, deservedly so, I'm not going to talk about it at all here, because we'll have a whole day on meditation in here, and it'll rock your world. It's so cool. We're just going to keep going around, but I want something from the bottom of your list. How do I say that? The worst of the ones you chose, and why would you say, yeah, some people might do this, but why would it be over here in the questionable maybe?
We had eating.
Eating? You'd put that over here? And you mean eating to feel better from the stress?
Yeah.
Okay, why would that not be a good thing?
You don't actually feel good afterwards. Like if you overeat or if you.
Right? Why is it natural? We talked about this before, right? Why is it natural to want to eat when you are in the stress response? And what is it that we want to eat?
You talked about wanting quick energy because
Mhm.
the body's running over, so.
Correct.
Sugary things.
So, right. So it's a very natural thing to want to eat. The problem is what?
People don't usually eat mindfully if they're stressed.
No, I mean, that's true, but why is it not helpful to eat the sugary things today when we're stressed?
My pants won't fit tomorrow.
Okay, that's a consequence, but why is it not in the moment you're stressed? Why is it not?
Because you don't use it if
Right. You're not using it at all. You're not eating and then going for your run, or you're not running and going, okay, I need some extra energy. You're not in that mode of needing the energy. We're just sitting around going, oh no, I've got a test. Right? So yeah, questionable. Now, surely we would say, you could also send this way. I mean, some of my best favorite times is having meals with my family, going out to eat with my wife, that kind of thing. So we don't want to limit this and say, okay, that's never a good thing. Some of our best times are. So we'd also consider it this way, and I think that's why it still makes the list. Okay, what's something that you guys wrote?
Video games.
Video games? You'd put that here? How come?
It's kind of taking away time that you could be doing productive things.
Yeah? Kind of sucks away. There was one student in here, true story, and now it doesn't surprise me as much as it did back then, but he said he played video games one time for 24 straight hours. And he was so proud of it. He was like, oh yeah, and I said, what did you eat? And he said, people brought me food. Did you need to go to the bathroom? I just held it. He was like, 24 straight hours. So, yeah, and I'd agree with you. I think that's it just sucks away energy or sucks away our time. And again, I would say, doesn't mean never do that. But if it's doing it at the expense of things that are higher priorities for us accomplishing things or being peaceful, yeah, I can see how it would be questionable.
I think also video games are inherently stressful because they're presenting you with challenges, and if you can't get through, you're just getting pissed that you're not getting through a level, and then you're just stressing yourself out more.
Yeah, I hear my son he plays Fortnite, and he's got the headphones and stuff, and we hear him, we're 2 stories away from where he's playing, and suddenly we hear him going, oh, are you crazy? You know, that kind of thing. So maybe, I mean, short-lived, fortunately.
Well, I also read something the other day that said that electronic time is actually contributing to depression. So more than 2 hours of electronic time a day.
Are you talking about anything or just the game?
Anything, like
Social media part?
Yeah, like the gaming and just being on social media. It's actually contributing to the anxiety, depression, which I thought was interesting.
Why would you think that is?
Well, they're not interacting with real people. If you're sitting there for 24 hours, you're not exercising, you're not eating well, you're not getting outside, you're not doing anything. It's not productive at all, and I think that makes you feel worthless if you were just to sit.
Okay, could be.
Would be.
It's kind of going off track. Along with social media, I heard about a study where they said that getting likes is addictive, on your posts and stuff. And so when that's not happening, you're kind of going through a withdrawal, and so people are really obsessed with social media, and it would contribute to depression if you're not getting likes or whatever.
Yeah. There's so many. Did I tell you about the girl in my class who did in my online stress management class?
Yeah, how she did the 10-day fast.
The 10-day staying out, yeah. I haven't seen it, and I'll bet it's out there that the rates of depression and the onset of social media are probably, I'm guessing, and if you can find that study for me, I'd love to see it. I just haven't looked. But what did you say? Congruent, yeah. As the use of social media and depression, as the onset of social media, I think is right in relationship with the levels. Depression's not going down in our, especially in Utah.
There's also a factor with social media that people tend to post the best things about their lives, and so when you're on social
Right.
media, you think, I'm not even doing that good. Look at this other person who's doing this, and you compare to
Right.
that also influences depression a lot.
I'm not nearly as cool as those guys. Right? I'm not, their lives are fun and mine sucks. Crud. Nobody's giving. We did this thing, my family, we decided we're going to do an unsocial media and just put the very worst. We're going to create a non-Facebook where you wake up in the morning, take a picture of yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Or you're having a road rage moment. You take a video of yourself while you're having road rage. And then we'd all feel so much better about ourselves, like going to Walmart, I guess. Okay. So, movies. But can you see? Now, I don't want to dismiss that out of hand but can you see when might this go this way?
When you're going out on a date, going out with your
Okay.
When you're watching Hallmark movies.
Hallmark movies? They always have a good feel, don't they?
do, and they're never realistic, and that's what's fun about them.
Yeah, the kind of fantasy, sort of.
Good girl.
You never exactly, you know what's going to happen, there's no stress involved.
Yeah. So there's no threat going on there. You're safe during it. And I think that's another reason why we like comedy so much, is it's impossible to have comedy and a threat. I don't think it's too, maybe there's a little possibility, but I can't see if you're laughing at something that's humorous, there's no feeling of threat. It's one or the other all the time, right? And so whatever we can do that is supportive of us getting out the threat thought, and I think comedy, movies, I remember I used to, when I worked in the library back before the computer world came in, it was always old women, and they'd come into the library and they'd get a stack of Harlequin romances, this big. We wouldn't even check them out. We'd just say, yeah. And they'd come back with more. And then they'd leave with a stack, and I'd say, why do you watch these? And it's the same thing you said. I know exactly what's going to happen, and I feel safe while I read it. George?
You know, we talked the other day about values, and the thing I find about a lot of movies is they're portraying things that are just contrary to, I don't believe in murdering people. And how many movies do I watch where the murder is just one right after another?
Yeah.
And things like, I mean, just the values in the movies being portrayed are just contrary. And so I don't find a lot of stress relief in watching them.
I think it'd be interesting to see, and I think there's been studies done where if you were hooked up to some kind of a biofeedback device, whether it's an electroencephalogram or something that measures, if you watch a murder, there is a physical reaction that we have that is a fight or flight like reaction. It's very subtle. It's not like going to dominate you, but if it's all day long, or if we see that a lot, we start to, I mean, it just does take us, I think. I agree with you in that direction. What's something that you guys?
Shopping.
Shopping. If there were a worse than questionable category, it would go over here. Now, why did you think that, Kristen?
Because as fun as it is to go shopping, it doesn't do any good for like your wallet or like future things. Credit.
Okay.
Not good.
Why is it so purely from a stress point of view? Why would you say shopping would be questionable purely from the physiology of stress?
I feel more stressed out when I shop, actually, because I'm spending money. I mean, I'm poor. I have 3 kids, and I'm in school, so like shopping for me is actually pretty stressful. And I mean, it's nice when you have the money, but when you don't, it's not.
Because
It's
what at your basic level is happening when you spend money you really don't have?
I think it's a conflicting, like it feels good to get things, but it feels bad to give something to get it.
Yeah, there must be some sense of loss.
Right.
There must be some, I mean, remember, stress is there's a pain, there's a threat, there's an unsafe, and when you spend money you don't have, you're going in that direction emotionally of, I might feel good for how I look, but I'm going to have to pay for this painfully down the road. And your body doesn't know that it's not down the road. It just knows, I'm going to have to pay for this. I remember I was with my wife once, and we were at the Nordstrom Rack. Is that still a place? In Park City? We were at the Nordstrom Rack, and she's not a big shopper either, but she had to try on some clothes there. And I remember the Bee Gees were playing on the intercom, the speakers, yes, thanks. And I thought, I'm in hell. This has got to be what hell feels like. You're shopping, waiting for somebody else to try and close. The Bee Gees were going. It was horrible. Something else.
Who's gonna
along with movies, but the only other one we have on here that's not up there already is TV.
So kind of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Maybe along with TV is like a lot of people will binge watch Netflix. It's something that people do.
right. Yeah. For the same. Okay, and the same kind of argument against.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you guys put? That's
Well, why do we have to go last? Because you guys take a little bit.
okay. Tell me just something else on your list that's up here somewhere. And where would you put it? Cleaning?
Well, cleaning? She says cleaning is best. I say it's questionable.
Okay.
I'm in a good
Brianna, why did you say it's best? What is it about it from a stress physiology point of view? Why?
For me, it's satisfying. I feel good when I'm in the process of cleaning, and after I can relax and see that everything's in order, everything's tidy and neat, and it just makes me feel really good.
Okay, when you're cleaning, what's the feeling you have while you're cleaning that makes sure that stress doesn't turn on? What? Okay, there's satisfaction. There's another one that we talked about really recently too. You have total control, right? There's not, oh no, I'm vacuuming and I don't know, right? It's like, I got you and I got this guy, and you keep, every time, that satisfaction, every time you pick up your vacuum up something, you've gone, I got that. And at a very minimal level, but if you keep doing it over, I can see why. Okay. Anything else? Anything else on your list and then you tell me where you'd put it.
Like talk it out.
Talk it out? What do you mean?
Like something that I've just been getting the hang of is like letting my wife know when I'm stressed and what's stressing me out, and then between the two of us, we can usually like talk through it and like make sense of it.
Okay, where would you put that up there?
I'd say pretty good.
Yeah?
Because sometimes it stresses her out too, but most of the time.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Everybody, what else do we do sometimes that is like talking it out? Where there's an energy, we talk it out and suddenly realize that energy's not there anymore. We do 3 or 4 things that are like that. Oh, come on, every one of you have done this before.
talk to myself a lot.
Okay,
Does that count?
not really.
Facebook rants or something?
No.
You mean like
What do you think?
Like ranting, like talking about everything like all at once.
Yeah, so all at once, maybe. Yeah, what else do we do?
Are you talking about like exercising and then being exhausted?
Nope, I'm not talking about that. Women do it way more. We'll call it that. What? No, we'll
I
kind of.
think women vent though, because if my husband comes home.
Okay, that's this.
Okay.
There's something else that women do way more. Same thing.
Fighting.
Cry.
Oh, I thought you were talking about actual
No. Something else that when you've all had this experience, women for at least for sure, where you just cried and said, oh, I feel better. Doesn't make any sense, but you do, right? There's some energy that's there and then it's not, right? There's something else that we do, and probably guys do it more but road ragers, what do you guys do? We scream. We've got that energy there, and we just... I got to tell you this story, because I started hearing about scream therapy, where people are actually doing this, and I thought, I'm going to try this. And so I remember, this is when I was living in Provo, and there was this one street that was way out there. It was farmland, and there was a softball diamond there, and I was really upset about something that had gone on. I was just right in the middle of just, you know how you get. It was had to do with some sports that we were playing, and I said to my wife, and I was driving home after the event, and I was just so livid. I was so ticked off. And I thought, I'm going to try this. So I got on my bike, and I didn't like go for a ride because, I mean, I can't chalk it up to exercise because I didn't go long enough or hard enough. But I went on this one street that was just out in the middle of nowhere. Now there's lots of houses there, but, and I thought, scream therapy, I'm just going to try this. And there was nobody around. There was a cow. And I thought, I'm just going to, it was a 1/4 mile road about, and I just screamed at the top of my lungs while I'm going along this road. Just, and I didn't know if it was going to do anything, but I thought, I'm going to try this. Because I was so mad. I was so just like ticked off. And I got to the end of the road and nothing happened. Nobody had seen me. So I tried it again. I did it about 5 times. And by the end of the 5th time, I was laughing. I was absolutely laughing. All of that energy that I'd had that was like right here was just gone. And I mean, I knew why I was upset, but there was no emotion of upset at all. It was gone.
Something that's really weird that I kind of do that's similar is I'll go running and I'll plug in my headphones.
Yeah.
And I'll sing it.
Yep.
Like I'll scream sing. And I don't know, I've never heard of doing that before. It just feels really good.
I'll bet you there's other people in here who've done that.
Yeah.
I have. I have my rock and roll. I'll turn it way up and I'll just, same thing. There's one other thing that we do that's like this. What about like a punching bag? Yeah, that's kind of the exercise, punching bag. That's the fight or flight, right? Perfect. There's one other thing that people do is they, instead of talking, crying, or screaming it out, they write it out. Write it out, and you write the emotions you're feeling. And you don't even have to keep it. You can burn it up or whatever. It doesn't matter. There's evidence that that seems to work to let that energy out as well.
That's true.
Isn't that interesting?
I do that.
Do you really do that, George? Yeah. That's why we recommend journaling all the time. I mean, there's something about that that is really useful. So give me something else on your list. Anything.
Puzzles, mind
Puzzles.
games,
Okay, where would you put those?
probably pretty good, because for some people it may aggravate them, and do it more, for some it may relax them, but
What's happening when you're doing a puzzle, and why is it useful from the stress perspective? You're being very mindful. You usually are. Your mind goes, and then, oh, this has got to fit in here, mindful. Then your mind goes off, but you keep bringing it back to being mindful. And most hobbies are like that. We could say puzzles, art, any kind of hobby falls into that category of direct mindfulness. My wife used to do toll painting all the time, where she would just a board and paint, and she said that just stilled her so much, reading, those kinds of things. I know people who really got into scrapbooking, and then it became Pinterest, and that was, to a certain extent, very mindful. I don't want to just clump all social media over there and say worthless, horrible, because sometimes it might be a very mindful kind of activity. Okay, what's another thing you guys put on your list? Anything on your list, and where would you put it?
Oh, yard work.
Yard work?
I put it in pretty good.
But I think yard work would be in the same vein in general as cleaning, right? Total control, and there's a lot of mindfulness going on. You're safe doing them until you start judging, comparing. Good. Okay.
That's a good one. How about serving others?
Serving others, where would you put it?
I think it's under best.
Good for you.
Not focusing on yourself.
So why is it, from a stress science perspective, useful? What is it that creates, why would you feel not stressed versus stressed from a scientific, from a psychological point of view? when you're serving?
Well, it makes you feel good, like you're making a difference in somebody else's life.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not focusing on yourself, and so what are you saying to you? What's the message that you're not getting
I'm in,
when you're what?
you're not in danger.
I'm not in danger. When I'm helping, that's one of the most not in danger things you can do. I mean, for all the other great reasons why we serve, for the stress response perspective, just the message, I'm not in danger when I'm helping you, is huge. Absolutely huge. What else? Anything else?
We have going out with friends.
Going out with friends. So, is it the going out or being with friends part?
Probably being with friends.
Okay, why? Where would you put it and why? Socializing.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe pretty good because I know
You
some
think?
social situations stress people out. And it's kind of
As long as you feel safe
yeah.
with friends, whatever that means, psychologically, emotionally, we have always been people who are social people. As long as we've been alive, we are with other people. Most of the time. It's very, very natural for us, and there's a few things that are kind of the social things that we'll get into down the road, but it's very natural. It's not natural for us to be alone, and there's so much evidence now coming out that loneliness is related to heart disease, and loneliness is related to a decreased immune system. Tons of research I've been seeing lately on how dangerous loneliness is, and how the happiest people in the world, one of the things they have going on is they're very social. Doesn't mean they have a huge amount of friends, but they do have friends. They do have close friends. At the physiological level, not the psychological or the emotional level, but the physiological level, what's going on, or maybe I can say what's not going on when somebody's laughing or in humor. So what's not going to be there? If what do we know is not there when you're watching or involved in something humorous? What is the one thing that's not there? Okay, go back one step. So stress is like the big word. What's the what activates all of our stress? It's the threat thought. I mean, if you think about it, that leads to all of these other physiological things. But when you think about anything that you you think is funny, there's no, uh-oh, I'm in danger, I'm not safe thought. Correct? I can't find one. What do we know goes up when the stress response is not active? That's kind of the physiology. Continuing with the physiology. If there's no stress response, if stress goes down, what do we know is going up? What? Your immune system. Correct. That's why I would say laughter is a best medicine. Because as the stress response goes down, your immune system is just cranking, and so it goes to work taking care of whatever the body senses is not self. Anything that is a pathogen of some kind, some foreign entity that has entered the body. If there's no immune system working, in other words, when the person is in a lot of stress, then it gets the upper hand. But if there's no stress, which it's like this, as one goes up, the other goes down. As stress goes down, the immune system cranks, and so it goes, oh, there's some cancer. Okay, I can handle that. Oh, there's a bacteria that's not supposed to be in here. I can handle that. There's a virus that I can handle that nobody else can. Does that make sense? So I think for all the reasons that Ava mentioned and many more, it's hard to say. I don't know, there's an upper limit of how much, like an RDA of laughter. That just sounds dumb. Only 18 laughs a day. Okay.
What about prayer?
Prayer, where would you put it?
I would put under best because you're really giving things over and you're not trying to hang on to everything.
Yeah, there's some sense of release there, isn't there?
Yeah.
If you have a belief that there's a higher power that can handle things for you, hugely beneficial. Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else that somebody feels like, oh, we forgot to mention this, that needs to get up there?
What about if you combine, so I'm outdoors walking along the river with my wife where we can talk things out, I have my dog with me. Just combine a lot of
George is the smartest guy in here. See, you've just figured out how to hack stress by doing 12 things that seem to work. That makes perfect sense to me.
my piano, but
You can't, yeah, you could put one over your shoulder. And no, that's kind of to summarize. The more of these things that we can do on a regular basis, I mean, it's just logical. The better off we'll be. The more we do these things, for sure. The more we do these things. We don't want to do these things quite so much, but we recognize that there is some value in them. And as we do these things, what we find is, little by little, the stress that we don't need in any situation starts to leave us, and the symptoms that don't help us at all, the headaches, all the other symptoms, they kind of go, we're safe, we're good, I'm going to go back into rest and repair mode instead of fight or flight. Good job, everyone. Have a great weekend.